Good morning, everyone. My name is Tianna. I'm the conservation biologist with the Georgian Bay Biosphere Reserve, and today is Migratory Bird Day. So, if you know me, you know that I love birds. I love going out and trying to find as many of them as I can. I love learning about birds that I don't already know, fun facts about them. There are just so many and they're so interesting. So, today we are celebrating Migratory Bird Day. And what exactly is a migratory bird? A migratory bird is one that spends their summers and their winters in different places. So, their winter, they fly somewhere that's a lot warmer for them. They probably don't have the down that they would need to survive a Canadian winter. And then they come up here for their summers when it's warmer for breeding season. So there are two different types of migrants. The first is a short distance migrant. Short distance migrants are like our ruby-crowned kinglet, some of our sparrows, tree swallows. They often spend their winters in the central, southern United States. And then we have our long distance migrants, which can travel thousands of kilometers. Some of these species, like our bank swallow, our colorful warblers, hummingbirds, they often fly to like Central to South America to spend their winters, which is a really far distance for some of these tiny birds to go. So, right now, a lot of our short distance migrants have arrived, which is great for those of us who love seeing their arrival and count on it for springtime. Um, some of our longer distance migrants haven't yet. So a lot of our warblers have not come back. Right now, the only one I've seen in my backyard is a Yellowrump Warbler. So we may not see a lot of pretty exciting birds today, but hopefully we get to see and hear a few. And oftentimes I always say that you're always going to hear way more than you actually get to see. So if you're just starting out learning how to bird, learning to bird by ear is very, very helpful. So at the end of my driveway here, I found a pair of goldfinches, the American goldfinch. And these aren't necessarily migratory species. You see them year round here. However, they are a great example for bird calls. So they do a number of different types of sounds. One of them was doing their song, which is to attract a mate. And another one was doing a flight call. And if you listened carefully, you might have heard the something that sounded like do 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 do. And so it's a great example of a mnemonic. And so what mnemonics are when you take sounds and you put human words to them. And this is one of my favorite ways to learn bird calls because it really helps you remember them. And so when I hear do do do, what I think in my head is potato chip, potato chip. And then I get really hungry, but I also know that I've heard a goldfinch. So I'm just checking out this pasture really quickly, and I can hear in the distance two things. One is a killdeer, which is killdeer, killdeer. And they are the shorebird that's kind of, they nest in gravelly areas and on beaches. Um, Oftentimes you'll see them pretending that they've broken a wing to try and get you away from their nest. And then the other thing I hear somewhere in this area is a brown thrasher. And brown thrashers, they actually have one of the largest vocal ranges of any North American bird. They are able to vocalize almost 3,000 different types of songs and sounds. And so these guys are kind of a red brown type of color. They have a very distinct yellow eye and a long bill. Of course, he's not singing again. So I'm going to play it for you. Brown thrashers actually repeat a series in double phrases, and it kind of sometimes can sound like a conversation. So fluttering around in this tree up here, I can see a little ruby-crowned kinglet. He's not happy with me, but if you just heard that, that's his song. It's pretty wacky sounding, which is how I remember it every year. If something just sounds really, really wacky and you can't seem to see it, it's probably the ruby-crowned kinglet. They're a fairly short distance migrant, and they're really small. So they're just the size up from a golden crowned kinglet, which is just the size up from a ruby-throated hummingbird. So these guys are a kind of a greeny gray color on their back. They have yellow lines on their wings. And just like their name says, they have a ruby crown, which you can't see all the time. Usually it comes up when they're quite ticked off at you. But they're super cute. If you get a close look too, they have a white eye ring. So I don't know if you can hear it or not, but right above me is a snipe flying. And the sound that it's actually making is what we call winnowing. And winnowing is when air rushes over its tail and it makes a sound. And the male does this because it's actually one of the courtship displays it used for attracting a mate. I'm going to play on my phone a sound of it winnowing so you can hear what that sounds like. It's a pretty cool sound. A little haunting, especially when you hear it at night and you're alone in the dark. So in the distance right here, I can hear a northern flicker calling. These are very short distance migrants, but you'll often see them on your front lawns because instead of like most woodpeckers that feed on trees, these guys will often be feeding on ants on the ground because ants are their favorite food. Ways to ID them by sight. They are a woodpecker. They're kind of a nice light tanny gray color. They often have some mottling on them, which means that their wings and their bellies could be a little spotted. They are sexually dimorphic, which means that the males and females look differently. It's not too different, but if you look really closely, you can spot one of them might have something that resembles a mustache, and that's going to be the male. So there he's calling again. So we just found in the distance a white-throated sparrow. As you can guess, this guy has a white throat. It also has little yellow eyebrows, which is what I often use to distinguish it. They are part of the sparrow family, and of course have a really unique call. This is another call that's a great example of a mnemonic because it says, "Sweet home, Canada, Canada, Canada." So you may not always necessarily see or hear a bird when you're birding, but you can still look around for signs that a bird was around at one point. So for example, I found a tree right here, and you can see these tiny little holes. These little holes were made by a bird called a yellow-bellied sapsucker. So the yellow-bellied sapsucker is a member of the woodpecker family. And this bird drills tiny little holes just like this. They sometimes look like almost braille. It's always in little lines. And these holes basically collect with sap. And then what the bird will do is it'll come back, stick its little tongue inside of those, and slurp up a whole bunch of sap, as well as all the protein that is in sap, which is the bugs that actually get caught up in it. So that is a really good meal for these little birds looking for energy, especially during migration. But another bird that uses these little holes is the ruby-throated hummingbird. So oftentimes when the ruby-throated hummingbird gets back, flowers haven't quite bloomed yet, exactly like right now. And what ends up happening is that they use these holes filled with sap as a source of energy for them. So that's pretty cool. I actually hear a yellow-bellied sapsucker right now. Kind of sounds like a little meh, meh. So the bird that I'm hoping we're going to hear in here, it was just calling earlier, was a Yellowrump Warbler. This is the one that I love to call a butterbutt because it does have a yellow rump on its rump, obviously. And I just lovingly call it a butterbutt. And so these guys are gorgeous. They also they're kind of a grayish color, and they have that yellow rump, yellow underarms, and sometimes they'll have, especially if it's a male, they'll have a little yellow patch on its forehead. They have a kind of a white eyeline. It's like they put on white mascara, and oftentimes it'll look like they have a bit of a mask. Some of the males can look differently depending on their plumage, but oftentimes there's that mask there. Since I can't seem to find him to actually call again, I'm just going to play his call so you know what that sounds like. That's another type of call that sometimes you'll hear them doing. So I'm just arriving back home now, but I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this virtual bird tour. We saw a few species, or at least heard them, and I hope you guys all had a blast. Please join our iNaturalist project, the Georgian Bay Biosphere Reserve, and submit all of the bird sightings that you find. We'd love to know what you're seeing, and we can also help you with the identification of things that you don't know what you're seeing or hearing. So make sure you add them, and we look forward to seeing you. Bye.